Hey, I believe that traditional control and domination mindset for running a business has pretty much run its course. And I think that in a lot of cases, our approach to leadership should change up and it should embrace people more than what it has in the past. So, an alternative to the traditional method, which is control and domination, a lot of times in business and other organization, is called the flow method, and it more or less talks about personal growth and sense of purpose, whereas the old control and domination method kind of talks about um, more control and definitely leaving people feeling disconnected and stressed. Is one better than the other all the time? I'm not so sure about that. So let's figure that out, okay? Here we go. Okay, guys, today we have the pleasure of welcoming Starr Sheppard-Decker to our show. As a spiritual business healer, she helps professional healers unlearn toxic paradigms in business and leadership, empowering them to increase their impact and income without burning out. In addition to being a skilled professional vocalist and an engaging public speaker, Starr is also a published author, facilitator, and ordained esoteric minister. She's dedicated her life to creating and nurturing communities through her organization's Radical Revelations, Healers and Huddles, and the Flow and Grow Collective. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into her unique approach to leadership and her revolutionary ideas of embracing the flow-based mindset. Starr, how are you today?
I am doing great. How are you, Michael?
I am good. I love pushing all these buttons and making things happen. So
Yes, me too.
let's jump right into this thing. So,
Great.
uh, tell me a moment when you realized that the traditional control-based leadership approach wasn't working, and when you decided to embrace the flow paradigm.
Oh, I love that question. I can tell you the moment. It
Okay.
was at the end of 2017. Um, and I had been really pushing my business hard. I'd taken a bunch of business trainings and I was just in that like, let's get this, yeah, kind of mode, and I was pushing it and I was working hard every day and I was doing all the things that I was supposed to do. And even though I had already been seeing clients for like 6 years before that, my
Hmm.
business dried up. So not only was I working my butt off, like it wasn't giving me any progress and it wasn't moving anything forward. I was like, I literally made like $0 in 2017. Or no, I think it was $0 in 2016 and $2,000 in 2017.
Okay,
Woo!
so almost the same as zero. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As a business owner, 2 grand in a year is not great.
Yeah.
And I decided, well, you know what? This isn't working. I'm going to have to give it up.
Okay. Okay,
It was
that
too
makes sense to me.
hard. It was painful. It was hurting me. I had triggered some chronic illness. I was on the couch for 6 weeks. And I
Okay.
was like, this isn't going to work. I can't do this anymore.
Well, so what did you see? Why you switched to the flow base, but what is the difference between like the flow base and the old control and domination? Was it affecting you or is it affecting the people that were working for you?
Yeah, I think it all began with me because I'm the leader, right?
Okay.
And so I think for me in that moment of giving up, I actually did give myself permission to give up my business for a couple weeks. And that was like I needed that to kind of let go of that old pattern of that push and that force that I was doing
Mhm.
to myself. And so, but I checked in with my heart and I connected with the like, but I'm here to do big things. I have to do the big things. And so I decided that there had to be a different way. And so 2018 was my experiment year where
Okay.
I experimented with, okay, so if it's not force and domination, then what is it?
Now, were you actually one of those bosses like the Jack Welches of the world that like this is the way, it's either my way, the highway, or no way at all?
I mean, maybe a little.
Okay.
I do like things my way, and I do when I'm in that mode of just do the thing. I
Uh-huh.
definitely tend to lean, one of the toxic paradigms that I talk about a lot is one right wayism,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it's like we believe there's one right way to do the thing, and you got to do it that way. And
Okay.
so that was one of the things that had to change in 2018 when I was really looking at how is my inside when I show up to my business?
Gotcha. So
Not
give me
just
an
the outer
example. Like
expression.
you had the 2016 and 17, you doing the old control and domination method. Give me an example of something that you used to say, do it this way, and
Mhm.
then you changed it to the flow method, and it seemed to work better.
Yeah, I would say the biggest part is how I lead myself. And so there's the leadership style that is basically just like stressing yourself and shaming yourself and hitting yourself with a stick into action.
Uh-huh.
Like, come on, get your crap together. Just show up and do the thing. Like that approach to self-motivation. And so the biggest shift for me is coming from that bigger why. And
Hmm.
instead of like something behind me forcing me into submission, it was more like something in front of me delightfully pulling me forward into action.
Okay. So give me one example of that. What is something that you used to beat yourself up about and then you let it flow?
Yeah, writing an email to my list.
Okay.
So sitting down like, "Oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. I have to write an email or else no one will believe that I am who I say I am," or whatever the inner dialogue was. And so instead, now when I sit down, it's like I connect with my heart to my people.
Okay.
I ask spirit, what do these people need to hear from me right now? How can I be of the most value to my people right now?
Gotcha.
And
Now,
then I write the email from that place, and it's so much better than I have to write an email or else I'm a bad business owner.
okay. Now, does this whole philosophy flow into, look at that, dealing with your employees also?
I would say absolutely, because
Okay.
if I'm doing that kind of force model, then I'm not really allowing space for them to be human,
Mm.
for them to have life stuff happen, for them to be a dynamic being in a world where they're not going to be at peak performance all the time, and that has to be okay. And so I
So
think the flow paradigm allows for more of our humanness.
now, so there's people that are going to listen to this and go like, sounds way too woo-woo for me.
Yeah.
And there's a lack of structure, and without structure, things are going to fall apart. What do you say?
Oh, I love that you said that because in order to have flow, you have to have structure. So the way I like to look at flow is think of a river.
Okay.
If you don't have riverbanks, you don't have a river, you just have water on the ground. So you got to have structure in order to direct the flow because without structure the energy just gets really wide and flat and can't
Mhm.
build momentum and can't move forward. And so that's what makes flow possible is it is this dynamic harmony of really clear structures and systems and repeatable strategies and that moment to moment spontaneity and creativity.
So, what makes it different if you've got structure? What
Mhm.
makes it different than the old control and domination paradigm?
The old control and domination paradigm says the structure is no matter what, the structure is God.
Okay.
And the flow paradigm says the structure is a guideline, and sometimes the structure might need to change.
Who decides if it needs to change?
That's a good question. I would say it depends on what organization you're talking to or
Okay.
talking about. If you're talking about like in a family, usually the mom.
Mhm.
If you're talking about in a business, probably the CEO or the manager. But I think that, like in my business, I'm very collaborative with my assistant. And so if she's wanting to switch things up or something doesn't work for her, it's a conversation. It's not a top down. And so I think that is the difference is even in an organization where there's an obvious leader, they don't see themselves as above everybody else. They see themselves as part of it and they want the input of the people that are actually impacted by the choices, as
Gotcha. That makes
opposed to
sense.
they're separate from it and they're just kind of doing the top down, do it because I said so kind of
Yeah.
approach.
So, if for the people that you talk to and you coach, what do you find is the most difficult thing for them to like embrace so that they can go from it's my way to it's our way?
Well, ironically, the people that come to me are probably coming from the other side of the pendulum, where they come from a such a woo, as you used the term, background
Hmm.
that they're resistant to structures and they're resistant to systems because they don't want it to look like the old paradigm. And so the thing that I get to do with them is have them heal some of their resistance to corrupt paradigms of authority and corrupt paradigms of leadership so that they can actually embrace their own inner authority and leadership and know that they can be a leader without going into those force and domination paradigms.
Gotcha. Now, what are the things that they have to overcome? Just thinking they're not good enough, not what?
Being afraid that that structure is going to feel like a trap, like a prison.
Gotcha.
Or that they're going to become, like if they even implement some structures, that they're actually going to become those corrupt leaders that they've been trying to avoid becoming.
Okay. Now, one of the things I saw on your website and your different pieces of info about you around the web is you've got these 4 different states or paradigms of flow. Can you
Yeah, I
talk
talk
about
about
those
them. I
4
call them the flavors of flow.
flavors of flow? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because
Um,
I think in the talks about flow, like if you look up books on flow, a lot of it is about the mental state of flow, which is if talk about like athletes who get in that the zone they call it, and so a lot of the work on flow is primarily about the mental aspect of flow.
okay. And then what about the other states of flow that you talk about? Are
Yeah,
those?
and so I also teach about creative flow, which
Mhm.
is where you kind of get in that special zone where you're able to access more and more creative solutions, whether that's in art or in business or just in a session with your client. And then there's divine flow, which is where we're kind of, and one of the things that I like to use as a signpost that I'm in divine flow is synchronicity.
Okay.
If a lot of like magical synchronistic things are happening, like, whoa, I just saw that over there. Whoa, you said that. I just saw that in a TV show yesterday, or whatever the thing is. That's how I know I'm in divine flow, where stuff is just sort of unfolding kind of magically.
Mhm.
And then, of course, financial flow. And especially as business owners, we got to make sure that we're in financial flow where that money is flowing through our businesses. It's coming to us, and then we're putting it back out in the world to contribute to the good in the world and the good in our lives.
Right. So give me an example of a company that you know of that's in the old control and domination model, and then give me an example of a company or two that's in the new flow state.
I love that. I would say the old paradigm approach to money, right? If we look at
Okay.
corporations, is you better have more today than you did yesterday, or you're doing it wrong.
Correct.
Like that. I mean, that's basically, you better have more this quarter than you did last quarter, or you're doing it wrong. And I would say the flow paradigm recognizes that there are cycles and seasons to everything, even business and finances, and can set themselves up for recognizing this is the time of year where our flow is high. So let's be prepared for that. And this is a time of year where our flow is low. So let's not make ourselves wrong for that. Let's just set ourselves up for success rather than trying to force our results into this really linear model that doesn't actually match reality.
So how does one actually control that? Because a lot of times you will say, second quarter this year, we had this much money and we need to improve that because we've got more bills in the third quarter. We've got more things to do in the third quarter. And what I'm hearing, and I think a lot of people probably hear, is just kind of wait for it to come and let it happen, as opposed to let's do some direct action and
Yeah.
make it happen.
And I think that's where people misunderstand flow as go with the flow, which
Mhm.
does sound very passive. And I'm not a subscriber of that. I mean, I think that there is that easy breezy, let things happen approach, but that's
Mhm.
not what I teach. I teach again a combination of action and allowing.
Okay.
And so
So,
that's where those systems come in. So if you're looking at your numbers and you know you need to turn up the dial on that income, well, that's why you have repeatable systems that you can look back and see what works. And then you can go, okay, it's time to turn up the dial on this particular system or this particular strategy because it's worked before.
and
And
how is that? Because in people in the normal or the regular
mhm,
control and domination style will also do that same thing. What's the difference between
yes,
what you're saying and what they do normally?
I think it's a little bit of an inner state where one is if we don't hit these numbers, we're a failure as a company.
Hmm.
And another is, well, it'd be ideal for us to hit these numbers. Let's get creative and curious. How can we hit those? Oh, it didn't work. Let's try something else. There's a
Okay.
little bit more space where I find that the control paradigm is gripped really tight and is trying to, it's trying to buy into this notion that if we just try really hard to control the universe, we can. And I think the flow paradigm recognizes we can't actually control the universe. That is not what's in our power. What we can do is we can direct things, and we can respond to things, and we can activate things.
Okay.
But if we get ourselves out of the mindset that we can actually control things, then there's not so much wrong making and shame. And I think that's the biggest difference between the paradigms is shame.
Okay.
Whereas control paradigm uses shame as a tool to get results, the flow paradigm recognizes shame actually isn't a tool that it wants to use.
So, like, what are some steps that people are listening to go, like, you know what, let me chill and try this or something? What are some steps some people could take to implement this and start going toward the new paradigm?
Yeah, I always start with awareness, because with awareness equals choice. And all of us have been really heavily trained on this belief of just do it and it'll happen. And if it didn't happen, then you just didn't do it enough.
Okay.
And I think being kind and compassionate and curious. And so I know Ted Lasso made this really popular recently, but I've been saying this for years, which is be curious, not judgmental. And so the control paradigm judges, this is bad, this is good. And the flow paradigm goes, I wonder why this is. I wonder how I could do it different.
Okay. Okay.
And so if we can start checking in with ourselves and getting curious, I'm going into control mode. What could I do instead? Could I be curious? Could I hold more space for this? And so I think just beginning with awareness and curiosity makes a really big difference, more than our ego likes to give it credit for.
How long do you think it actually takes for somebody to get the flow protocol into place and actually start using it?
I think it can take years, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, because we have been so inundated with the control paradigm as the way that humans exist, that it takes, and I will say it takes someone getting some support of someone who can see outside of us and go, oh, hey, look, this is an old paradigm pattern. Let's work on this together. And that's a lot of what I do with my clients, is hold up that mirror and go, hey, I think this is an old paradigm story. I think this is a toxic paradigm that you're just playing out automatically. And what can we do instead?
Yeah. And how fast do you see those changes in people?
It's actually amazing. Once you name them and move them, I think the biggest change is the inner sense of relief, and that it's like, oh, it's not just that I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
It's that I can try a different approach and actually see it work, which is really exciting.
Does this methodology work better when you're going top down or bottom up?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say most of my healers are solopreneurs or running small practices.
Okay.
And so I think top down is best, because they're really setting the tone.
Okay.
But I'd say for larger organizations, it might work the other way as well, depending on if people are sort of getting in that vibe. It's like the, the tipping point of when how many people are ready to flow and they're done with the force.
Do you think the flow method will work for any organization or business or not?
I love that question, because it's kind of rooted in one right wayism, right? It's like, tell me, is this the one right way? Is this the new one right way? And I would say, I don't believe in a one right way. I think that each person in each business gets to decide for them. But I do think that if you look at marketing, if you look at the conversation in industries of especially like coaching and leadership and influencers, we're really over the force paradigms, like pretending. And we're really wanting that authenticity that the flow paradigm brings us. And so I think more and more things are tipping into the new paradigm. And I also think that in companies where it's really immersed in the old paradigm, it might not be beneficial to them. That might be too disruptive. It might be a longer arc of a journey. But as a lot of quotes say, like, the arc of the universe bends towards justice. I think that the arc of the universe bends towards flow, personally.
Gotcha. So it may work in business. I can definitely see it working in a lot of businesses. I think probably in things like military, it may not be as effective as some little more structure, or governments. I'm not sure it would work. It might work in individual pieces of governments, but it'd be interesting when Elon gets to Mars. Let's see if what he sets up.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and if you look back at like indigenous cultures, their systems, their economic systems, their systems of government, so to speak, were very much more flow based.
I got you. So, yeah, I think it'll work when we get to Mars.
Yeah, right.
For the governments. That
I'll
I
let you
think
know.
it can work right now for a lot of other people and organizations. So,
Yeah, one little bite at a time.
yeah, I want to do something with you. I want
Okay.
to play some this or that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a choice of two things, and you get to choose one or the other. You cannot choose neither or both.
Okay.
And
Bring it.
when you get to the questions where you go like, I can't decide, we can talk about it.
Okay.
All right. Um, mental flow or spiritual flow?
Spiritual flow.
Okay. How about solo brainstorming or group collaboration?
Group collaboration.
Nice. Guided meditation or free form journaling?
Ooh. I would say it really depends on the guided meditation. Not all guided meditations are created equal.
No, they are not, are they?
So if it's a really good one, I'll go with guided meditation. But if it's kind of meh, then I'll go with journaling.
Okay. How about structured environment or flexible workspace?
Flexible workspace all the way.
Okay. All right. Creative flow in music or in writing?
Oh, that's a hard one. I have to choose one.
Well, one or the other, and just
Writing. Yeah.
writing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about learning from a mentor or self-taught discovery?
Learning from a mentor.
Yeah, I go with that 100% all the time.
Mhm. I learn so much faster.
Yeah, it shortcuts a lot of stuff.
It really does.
Absolutely. Working with individuals or leading a team?
That's a hard one because I have strengths in both. I'm a leader at heart, though. I'm going to go with leading a team.
Okay. How about building a community or fostering personal connections?
Again, that's a tough one right up there. That's like both and, but I'm going to tip it ever so slightly in the community.
That way. Okay. And
Mhm.
then let me see. I got two more. How about long-term planning or taking it one day at a time?
Taking it one day at a time.
Okay. And how about last one? Embracing vulnerability or maintaining a professional facade?
Vulnerability all the way.
Okay. That's my team was telling me that that's the part they like about my TikTok, that I'm being vulnerable, and I'm like, I got to take them off of my TikTok.
Right? I'm just about to get started in TikTok, so I'll go hunt you down and see how.
Yeah, there you go. Let's make sure people can stay in touch with you. They can definitely find you at radicalrevelations.com.
Yes.
And they can find you at flowandgrowcollective.com.
Yes.
And also on your Facebook, me Starr.
That's probably where I'm the most active, is on Facebook.
Excellent. And then you've also got your Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Rad Revelations.
Yes,
So
all the places.
I'm going to leave this one up so people can remember that. You guys get in touch with Starr with 2 R's.
Yes, please. I would love to chat leadership with you.
I would love for you to chat leadership with everybody and make them happy and get them into the flow.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Michael.
Bye.